etc. If you're just seeing us right now on YouTube, we're going to rejoin the game broadcast. TJ Rives, Jason Powers, and Matt Zimick is with us for a little while longer before he has to depart in this first half. We're watching along for the Mountain West Television Network broadcast right now of the New Mexico Grand Canyon game in Albuquerque. Conference play in the pit in Albuquerque tonight, and we're back underway with live action through Creator Sports Network that we're streaming this tonight. Jason, you had something for Matt?
Hey,
Go ahead.
Matt, so give us a little sense of West Coast basketball this year. What teams are the strong teams out west, maybe that we don't see on a nightly basis here in the East Coast or in the Central Time Zone? Give us a little sense outside of the Mountain West. Big Ten teams, Oregon. I know they're the West Coast teams out there. Give us a Big Sky, Big West conference. Give me a team or two out west that you like so far.
Well, I think the real story in the West is that the West is down this year. Gonzaga being the exception, but St. Mary's isn't exactly lighting everything on fire. I mean, not terrible, but like Vanderbilt mopped up St. Mary's pretty easily in the non-con. So like Randy Bennett's going to have to, now St. Mary's usually mows through the WCC, but like that's necessary to get an at-large bid. So like St. Mary's has 2 months of work to get done. Can't afford many slip-ups. But UCLA, this is a big story. UCLA is squarely on the bubble. I know it's only mid-January, but UCLA is in real danger of missing the NCAA tournament. Mick Cronin got Donovan Dent, formerly of New Mexico, the team we're watching here. He was supposed to be that aircraft carrier, right? Like Carmelo Anthony for Syracuse in 2003, the guy who just takes over, puts on his cape, climb on my back. I'm going to carry you to the promised land. Has not worked out like that at all. He's had a few good games, but it's been a real struggle for him. And then like the other portal pickups for Mick Cronin, Xavier Booker from Michigan State, been a disaster. He's been a defensive turnstile. UCLA doesn't play elite Mick Cronin level defense, and holding Maryland to 55 doesn't mean much because Maryland's awful. Maryland is 0-5 in the Big Ten, been a car crash under Buzz Williams. UCLA just goes to Iowa, gets wiped out by 13, goes to Wisconsin, loses by double digits as well. Team's not showing up in the first half. So UCLA is going to need to win some Big Ten road games at some point to get on the good side of the bubble. Right now, UCLA is I'd say right near the cut line. It could be last four in, for first four out. That's been a big story because UCLA was a preseason top 20 team. And interestingly enough, UCLA played Arizona really closely in mid-November in Inglewood at the Intuit Dome, but and led with a few minutes left, couldn't close the deal, and it's been all downward ever since for UCLA. So while Arizona is on track for a number 1 seed out here in the West, UCLA might miss the NCAA tournament. It's going to be very interesting to see how UCLA responds in the coming weeks. That's a big story in Western basketball.
Yeah, and obviously this conference usually has had 3 teams, maybe 4 or more teams, the Mountain West, but right now it projects only 1, it looks like, in the Mountain West. And I believe they're going to another commercial timeout here in a moment. Nope, we'll double check. Jordan or Jaden Henley is the one that has made a couple of jumpers while we were talking. Jaden Henley now with 8 in the game, made that bucket a moment ago. It's a 4-point game once again. That's Henley there going to the basket and drawing the foul for Grand Canyon. Again, for the fans that are just joining us, this was a 10-2 start for New Mexico, and Bryce Drew's team has done a good job of hanging in a very hostile place to play. Buljan, the big European, I believe he's a Croatian, commits the foul there, and now Grand Canyon with free throws down by 4 with about 5 minutes left here, Jason Powers, in the opening half.
Yeah, hanging in there. Again, Jaden is their leading scorer. You see on TV the 17 a night, and just your classic kind of point shooting guard. The generator of that offense. So Henley's a good player. You mentioned Donovan Dent go to UCLA. We saw Dent a couple years ago in Las Vegas when he was playing for New Mexico. It played really well in the Mountain West tournament. It's amazing how guys Matt, you mentioned struggling. Guys that are really good at the Mountain West level, you jump up that one more conference level to the Big Ten, and they're not nearly as effective sometimes, whether it's athleticism, just the pace of the game, whatever it is. It's funny how some of these kids can't make the jump up and still perform at a high level.
All right, Zimick, pop quiz. Who is that tatted up 7-footer that just bombed one in for New Mexico from about 30 feet? You're the West Coast guru of the program. We got to figure out who that was with the made three. I'll get you the name in a moment.
What Eastern Bloc country is he from?
It's well represented. And there is Grand Canyon with an answer at the other end as well. Again, Bryce Drew's team hanging in, only down 3 as we watch this game together on the Creators Sports Network and the Mountain West Television Network tonight from Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're live on college basketball coast to coast. Matt Zimick's got to depart here in a few moments.
It was JT Rock with that long one for New Mexico.
What a name, JT Rock underneath, and is that a dunk and an? Was it an and one? No, just the dunk.
Follow up. Yeah.
How about Rock going underneath the basket and getting 2 more? That's a big body down low, giving a bonus. Big bonus.
That's a lot of tats on the left arm.
Yeah. Where did he get? We got to double check. Where did he get Rock from? Was Rock with the program? Again, the coach came from UC San Diego. Fast break opportunity here for the Lobos, and they are able to get the driving hoop. And now some separation, some momentum in the game at 31-24.
Yep.
After those last couple of plays.
And this arena, people don't realize this is New Mexico basketball is a big deal in Albuquerque.
It's the biggest deal.
Yes.
It's the biggest deal in the state of New Mexico.
No pro sports.
Yes.
New Mexico has got a storied history. They've had some great coaches come through there. Fran Fraschilla, you've had Patino, Richard Patino been there. So
Correct.
They've had some big coaches that have come through there and done well.
Deep 3 here for the Lobos. My Lord, that barely chipped glass. I don't know that Eric Orrin is happy with that shot. And again, Grand Canyon hanging around in this one at this stage. I'm just looking for JT Rock. He is a transfer from Iowa State. He was at Iowa State a year ago and listed 7-1 out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And there's a big 3.
Nice 3-ball back in the game.
At Grand Canyon, just hanging around here, down by 2. Again, this is a massive opportunity for them on the road, and now a steal and a chance to tie.
Oh, another steal.
But New Mexico takes it right back. Again, final 2 minutes of the half. We're going to let Matt Zimick escape here in a few minutes. He's got other obligations. Any other thoughts watching this New Mexico Grand Canyon battle right now, Matt?
Yeah, these teams look sped up. Lots of just very quick decisions.
Oh, goodness. That's Rock. Pardon me. That's Rock again on the dunk, and you see the Albuquerque, the pit crowd going crazy. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, rocking the rim. But this game's been sped up. Guys are making really hasty decisions, and sometimes sometimes you're seeing like these quick pull-up threes go in, but that's not sustainable. There have been some no good shot moments. Obviously, dunks are some very good shots, but there have been some hasty decisions. Also, just being a little sloppy with the ball. The teams are aware how big a game this is. They're feeling the pressure a little bit. I'm not seeing composed half-court offense on a consistent basis. There are moments, but yeah, both these teams feel a little sped up. Because
under 4 minute timeout here.
Pace is pretty intense, and yet it's 33-29 near the end of the half. That tells you this is not very efficient offense at either end of the floor.
All right, so they're going to that television timeout. And again, Matt's got to scoot here in a minute. I'm just looking at a couple of the stats at this stage. New Mexico right now shooting 45% in the first half, 4 of 10 from 3. Grand Canyon 36% only, 4 of 13 from 3 on the boards. It's 19-12 in favor of the Lobos. 6 turnovers for New Mexico, 5 for Grand Canyon. Jake Hall, the freshman, leading New Mexico at this stage with 10. Jaden Henley is the Grand Canyon leading scorer. But again, one more time, Bryce Drew's team appears to be ready for the stretch run here, a game that was maybe going to get away from them in the first half. They've hung in. They've showed something in this first half, Matt.
I think it's New Mexico by 4 right now. I think if it holds at 4, you're happy if you're Grand Canyon going into halftime because you took a punch, and then you took a second punch. New Mexico up 10-2. Then the game straightened out a little bit, and then New Mexico goes back up by 8 at 20-12, and so Grand Canyon hanging in there. If Grand Canyon keeps it at 4 going to the half, that's a good outcome for the Lopes, and then second half they can make some adjustments and change the tenor of this game.
All right, so again, you need to be following Matt Zimick, Trojans Wire for USA Today's Trojans Wire coverage. Also follow him as well for any and all coverage of college sports, the College Sports Wire that's there. We love your insight on college basketball coast to coast being with us on Saturday nights as much as you want to let us bother you.
Hey, now, wait. The weekend is here, coming in a few days. What's the hysteria? Probably the first time the Broncos have been a 1 seed in a while. What's the mood around town with the Broncos in the 1 seed?
And they're ready. They're ready.
In town.
Yeah, and I mean the Bills, like you couldn't get a more high-profile opponent for the Broncos in the first round. So like this city's ready. It's been such a long wait, right? It's been such a long time since Denver was in this position. So it's definitely a bring it on attitude up here in the Rockies.
I love Matt because he's I think he's my kindred soulmate of the 80s and the 90s and pop culture. We're about the same age. I said to him, I can't ever recall the Broncos and Bills playing in the playoffs. And Zimick did not hesitate, Jason Powers, while we cross over sports, to say, no, 91 AFC championship game. And it was a 10-7 game for Buffalo, low scoring. Jim Kelly against John Elway.
They played last year in Buffalo.
Oh, that's true. They did. They played last year in Buffalo. But they have an AFC title game back in the day.
Yes.
Back when the Bills won the 4 AFC title games in a row and then lost all 4 Super Bowls. All right, back to the final minute of this game in the first half. Here again, Grand Canyon got another bucket to stay within 4 here at this stage. And I'm just double checking. The shot clock difference is about 5 seconds here.
5 seconds, yeah.
So Grand Canyon going to try to run a play late in the shot clock. New Mexico should get the final shot of the half, up 35-31. That's Henley, the guard that's had an excellent half.
Yeah,
I believe that's Henley with the ball on the left wing. And again, another big shot for Grand Canyon
Henley,
and Bryce Drew's team. That is Henley again out of the left wing. Look at this little step back right here. Gets hauled off the ground on the pump fake and boom with the jumper. All right, Matt Zimick. Again, they can follow you at Trojans Wire. They can follow you at Matt Zimick, Zemek, on social media. Promise me that you're back with me on some Saturday nights on college basketball coast to coast as we go through the regular season and into March, etc.
Absolutely. So, Jason, we're all interested in that Broncos-Bills game, but I'm going to be studying up on my college basketball on Saturday. Kind of wish the Broncos and Seahawks would have been on Sunday, but that's life. But I'm going to be locked in on the college hoops on Saturday, and I'll see you Saturday night.
Massive college basketball Saturdays for sure. Matt Zimick will let you depart, and we'll watch the end of the first half here for New Mexico and Grand Canyon. Thank you, sir. Have a great night.
You too. Thanks for having me.
See you, Matt.
Go.
Yep.
There he goes with us this evening. Again, we're in the final 5 seconds of the half here.
You probably have
long 3, and that will count for New Mexico.
No, that's not Hall. That's
not lefty. Jake Hall, the lefty. Will they look at that to make sure? I think he got it off. I think that's a 3 to end the half.
That is
for Eric Oren's team. Let's see if the red light is on with the ball out of the hand. It looks like the ball's out of the hand on that 3-point shot.
That is deep.
So that 3 is going to count. And the Los Lobos close out with a 3-point shot. And as you see there on the screen, a 38-33 lead. Very competitive first half of action here tonight. So Jason Powers, we've got a lot of audience that's hanging out here with us. Let me see if we've got some audience comments, some people that are weighing in. Jack is watching. Jack is always hanging out on the BetUS TV College Hoop Show. Howdy to Jack. Thank you for watching us. Jack says, pop quiz, hot shot, name the movie. Does Jason Powers know that? at the beginning of an action thriller from the 90s, speaking the 90s, famous actors, one actor says to the other one during a big confrontation at the beginning of the movie, pop quiz, hot shot. What do you want to do? No clue?
I can't.
How about Keanu Reeves, Jeff Daniels as the SWAT guys trying to stop Dennis Hopper in Speed before he ever gets on the bus with Sandra Bullock?
There we go.
And he's got Jeff Daniels as the hostage with the bomb. And he says, you got a hostage and you got a guy holding a bomb. Pop quiz, hot shot. What do you want to do? And Jeff Daniels says, shoot the hostage. And he shoots him in the leg to free him. Nice reference there, Jack, on Pop Quiz Hot Shot. I don't know if Jack's still watching or not.
Jeff Daniels had a fateful ending in that movie.
Yes, unfortunately, they thought they had caught Dennis Hopper. They thought they had caught the bad guy. They go into his house, and everybody went boom, as I recall. And the bus eventually went boom with he and Sandra Bullock.
That's right.
And then another famous line at the end with the subway train chase where Dennis Hopper's on top of the subway, and he unfortunately, for his demise, raises up and gets decapitated. And Sandra Bullock says, what happened? And he says he lost his head. It's like a Schwarzenegger one-liner. He lost his head.
Oh, God.
I don't know how we digressed into that. We're at halftime of the game that we are watching, so we're going to keep it here with you and me. Keep the comments coming if you're watching us, whether it's on YouTube, Twitter X, Facebook, etc. Thank you for doing so here tonight as we are doing the watch along. Jason Powers and I are doing the watch along here of the New Mexico Grand Canyon game. I'm going to put this back up here at the half. This is going into tonight, the power rankings from WarrenNolan.com. These are the power rankings for the Mountain West Conference. Again, notice Utah State 5-0 in the conference, 13-1 overall, 13 as you see over on the far right in the net. That's outstanding. So they are an at-large team at the moment, and they are the presumptive. They are the presumptive automatic bid winner at this point. Nobody else is probably in for sure at the moment. You see, New Mexico is the third team down, 4-1 in the conference. Middle column, 12-3 on the season, 41 in the net ranking, 1-1 in quad one. The team they're playing, Grand Canyon, is fifth on the graphic, right in the middle, 3-1 in the conference. But look at that number over on the right, Jason. That's the NCAA's net ranking, their power ranking. Who did you play? Who did you beat? Where did you beat them? They're only 100 in the net. They don't have a quad one win, Jason.
How surprised are you? And it's been a while since they've been really good. How surprised are you that this UNLV program hasn't gotten back on track with the NIL potential of Las Vegas? I'm just shocked that that program has not been able to kind of take advantage of that with the
remember they had Lon Kruger for a little while, and Lon Kruger had them in the NCAA tournament, and I believe had them in the Sweet 16 with UNLV. And then he departed, and his son Kevin Kruger eventually got the job. And Kevin Kruger was only a middling coach, but you're right. I mean, the days of UNLV being a powerhouse with Tarkanian are so long ago, they might as well be on Saturn or Pluto. It's that long
to this
ago.
Conference, you would think UNLV would have the most NIL potential, the most draw to play and live in Las Vegas. I'm just stunned that program has kind of been a middle of the pack program for the last handful of years. I mean,
good point. San Diego State has far surpassed almost anybody in this conference in terms of notoriety. Of course, they made the Final Four back a couple of years ago in Arizona, and they have the NIL working, etc.
And isn't Josh Pastner now at UNLV?
Pastner is now at UNLV. That's correct. So you've got some cachet there. He was at Georgia Tech, and then before that at Memphis, and very famously a Calipari disciple.
Lute Olson played on the Arizona National Championship team.
So Pastors had some injuries, but they're not very good. They beat my Memphis Tigers, but look,
6-8. I mean,
look at that number, 174 in the net. You're not going to help yourselves beating UNLV. The teams you're going to help yourselves by beating right now are New Mexico at 41 in the net, and maybe a San Diego State at 66 in the net.
Right.
And if you're Grand Canyon, again, we should bring this up while we look at the graphic. They play New Mexico here for a second half, and then they play Utah State at home this weekend. That is a massive opportunity at home. I don't know all the mathematics behind it, but even if they don't win tonight and they're still hovering around, let's say 98, 100, whatever, you win that Utah State game, they'll easily hop up 10 spots, if not 15 spots, and be in the mid-80s. I'm saying that if you're Grand Canyon. So that's a massive moment for them on Saturday. While we look at this, and look at Boise State down there at just 8-6 on the season, 2-5 in quad one. That's a bit of a surprise. Colorado State was a tournament team a year ago. Remember, they got red hot at the very end of the year. Nico Medved, the coach, he's moved on and gone to Minnesota. Ali Farouk Manesh, remember that name?
Yes.
He's the head coach now.
Northern Iowa.
That's
he had a famous moment in the tournament
to beat Kansas with Northern Iowa. So Ali Farouk Manesh is the Colorado State coach. And you see they're 84. If you look down in the middle of the pack, number 7, Colorado State, and look over to the right, they're 84 right now in the net ranking, only one quad one game, and they're 0-1 in the quad one.
Interesting. I wonder if you're in the conference commissioner's office of the Mountain West. You're never going to say this publicly because you want teams to be decent, but you almost hope that maybe 3 teams really separate themselves and have really good conference records versus you don't want a bunch of teams that are 10-6, 11-8. You want to have 2 or 3 teams that are 13-3, that kind of deal where you're going to get a couple in as opposed to having to sweat it out on Selection Sunday in that carnage. And we've seen that Mountain West tournament over the years has been upsets in these quarterfinals, semifinals. You almost want kind of a top 3 or 4 teams just to really separate themselves.
Each of the last 2 years, it has been a team that made a run in Las Vegas to get themselves into the NCAA tournament. Colorado State was not in the NCAA tournament, and they said, you know what? We're going to be our own selection committee. We'll win on the quarterfinal night, we'll win on the semifinal night, and we'll go ahead and take the automatic bid while we're at it, and then pick it up on this. 2 years ago, you and I were there for the New Mexico Lobos with our brethren TC Martin from Las Vegas of the TC Martin Show. We were right there courtside. That was 4 wins in 4 nights for them to go into the NCAA tournament.
For the Lobos,
for the Lobos.
Right? Richard Pitino, and they were probably in, but they cemented themselves by, they weren't a 1 or 2 seed, I don't think. Weren't they like a 4 or 5 seed, I believe?
Oh, no, New Mexico was worse than that. I think New Mexico was like a 6 in the tournament because they were playing the opening night. Remember, they were playing on Wednesday night to play their way in. Certainly by the time they had won on Friday night, they had an at-large case going into the Saturday championship game. But again, they did as we love to say it, we don't need no stinking committee. Let's just go ahead and win the automatic bid. They beat San Diego State that evening and won the Mountain West tournament and therefore got the automatic bid to go in. And all right, so let's take a look. They're back at the half here from Creator Sports Network and the Mountain West Television Network. Some first half stats of this game that we are watching along. If you're just joining us on this Tuesday night, you say, what are TJ and Jason doing here on a Tuesday? We've partnered up with Creator Sports Network, and you're watching us through our social media of YouTube, Facebook, Twitter X, and we're looking at some first half highlights. Jason, pick it up on what you're seeing here. Again, for the audience, Grand Canyon behind early, but they didn't get phased. They got back in the game.
Yeah, Hall had a quick start for the freshman for New Mexico. Scored 6 or 8 points real quick in the game. Quick timeout. Jake Hall, there he is, the freshman guard. Scored. They were up. I think they were up 10-2. You had a quick timeout by Bryce Drew. Good job there. Again, coaching wise, you don't want to get behind double digits in the first 5-6 minutes of these games. So nice job by Bryce Drew stopping the tide. They responded after that first early timeout. Got back in the game. Kind of a back and forth game. They went on a little run themselves. Got back within 1 or 2, and then you saw the deep 3 at the end of the half there by New Mexico to make the margin 5 at the half. So. If you're Bryce Drew, you're in the locker room, we're down 5, you'll take that all day right here.
I would agree.
No doubt.
And again, that place rocks, and you're looking at some of the New Mexico highlights. That's Rock. Speaking of Rock, the 7-footer JT Rock, a transfer. And here again, New Mexico, there's the 3 ball at the end of the first half. But, again, Bryce Drew's not going to get rattled. This is the third different program, Grand Canyon, that he's taken to the NCAA tournament. Yep. So they're obviously not going to get rattled as we took a look at the first half highlights, and we'll come back on camera, you and I, when they get ready to go for the second half start there in Albuquerque tonight. But, I mean, again, he was in the NCAA tournament as a player, famous three-point shot. We were talking about this earlier for Valparaiso. Then the Valparaiso coach, I remember his 2015 team in the Horizon League. Valpo, at that time, they were in the Horizon League, won the automatic bid, beat Green Bay. I got to broadcast the game on national digital radio for TuneIn. Valpo went to the NCAA tournament. He later took the Vanderbilt job, had them in the NCAA tournament. They won an opening round game. We discussed this earlier that Vanderbilt eventually got rid of him, and Bryce Drew just reinvents at Grand Canyon as they move into Division I, going to the WAC conference. He's been in the NCAA tournament twice with Grand Canyon, and now they're a first-year member in the Mountain West, Jason. So there's a lot of pedigree there for Bryce Drew, the son of Homer Drew, the brother of Scott Drew, the Baylor national championship coach. This is three NCAA tournament situations at three different schools. The guy can coach, obviously.
He can, and I know they were in the tournament 2 years ago. Correct? I believe it was 2 years ago. He was in line for some opportunity to get a better job, and I think he elected to stay where he was at as opposed to go to a mid-level, whether it was a Pac-12 or type school. So his name was mentioned in some of these job searches a couple years ago, and I think at this stage, sure, he would love another opportunity at a big program, but he has got great job security. He's probably funded pretty well where he's at as far as support. The pressure is not outrageous on him and where he's at Grand Canyon. So again, this is a good spot. His dad was that kind of guy. Didn't always seek another job when he was having success at Valpo. Even Scott Drew, been at Baylor forever, probably could have taken a bigger job than Baylor a few times after they won the national title, has chosen to stay at Baylor. So I think some family lineage as probably some good fatherly advice from Homer. You're in a good spot, Bryce. We don't need it. You got plenty of money. You don't need the money probably with his NBA career. Build a winner where you're at, man. Keep it going.
Let's see. I'm looking to see if there's some more commenters. My buddy Jack's going on and on in the comments about the Speed movie from the 1990s. By the way, they released that movie in the summer of 94, right after the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase. They had filmed it before with the cops chasing the bus all over the interstates of Los Angeles after the cops did that slow speed chase of O.J. in June of 94. It was crazy. Art imitating life by accident. Yeah.
Speaking of O.J., I saw a clip. We were talking to Matt Zemek about the Broncos playing the Bills this weekend. The last time the Bills won a road playoff game before Jacksonville last Saturday was in Miami in 1992. And who was the guy giving the AFC Championship trophy? Orange James
O.J. Simpson. Yes, on an NBC broadcast.
How about that?
How about that is right. We're getting ready for the second half. You know what? We always got to liven things up. So we went all the way out to Denver with Matt Zemek. We love his insight. I love my man, Coach Ari. Ari has been with me for the better part of about 23 years, 22 years, right at that, talking college basketball, XM,
Big
satellite
East
radio,
guy, then Big East.
Sirius XM satellite radio, then Ari with me at Fox Sports Radio, and then now with TuneIn. So Ari has put up with me for the better part of 20 plus years. And here I can't have one of these shows and not have my man Coach Ari not be part of the program. Here he is on a Tuesday night while we're hanging out watching some Mountain West basketball on a watch along this evening. How are things, my friend, on a Tuesday night late in New York?
It's going pretty well out here. We got out of the 20s, and it's kind of in the upper 30s and 40s now. So I guess that's good for.
You don't want Powers and I to mention to you that it's been
right.
75 in Tampa Bay the last couple of days.
I understand.
Although it will get colder here. By the way, we're going to get back to the second half of New Mexico and Grand Canyon starting momentarily. Big East game ongoing that Ari has an eyeball on. I have an eyeball on. UConn was up by as many as 16 in the second half. Seton Hall is closed within 4 in the final minute. I'll keep you up to date. And the Hall just missed a three-pointer that would have gotten them within 1. Seton Hall got the rebound. They reloaded and got the 3 that gets them within 1. 65-64. UConn, who's won 11 games in a row, is on the cusp of blowing a 16-point second-half lead against Seton Hall. In Ari's neck of the woods at the Prudential Center in Newark, they are rocking right now for Seton Hall and the comeback they've put on in the Big East while we talk about that for a moment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you don't see UConn surrendering leads under the Dan Hurley era like that. Usually when they were in double digits, it was pretty much a done deal. I mean, especially when they won their back-to-backs, it was a done deal. Obviously a different team, much more improved than last year, but you have to give Seton Hall a lot of credit. They're also way more improved this year than they were a year ago. Much more competitive in the conference, so
Shaheen Holloway still?
Yep.
Shaheen
Holloway getting it done. Yes, absolutely. Yep. By the way, second half underway. It's our live watch along here of the New Mexico Grand Canyon Mountain West game. Ari and I always love late night basketball. We always have in the West, and my man Jason Powers as well here on a Tuesday night. Again, if you're just joining us, you're seeing this through the Creator Sports Network and the Mountain West Television Network. We've started the second half at the pit, the famed pit in Albuquerque, where New Mexico and Grand Canyon are in a fairly tight game. Grand Canyon got a couple of free throws to start the second half, so this is a 4-point game. And there is Jake Hall, the freshman, again, Jason Powers, with another big shot to start this second half.
Yeah, he started out hot in the first half, scored 4 or 5 of the first 7 or 8 points, and then off to it again. Ultimate green light as a true freshman. That coaching staff has given him the liberty to do what he needs to do and pull the trigger when he feels like he wants to pull it. So give him credit.
I believe we got an and one coming up here too for Grand Canyon. They got the ball inside. We get a look at the replay, and that's a nice move. Actually, it's not an and one. It's going to be 2 free throws coming up. Bryce Drew's team's got some size. Again, Henley, the guard, he's a bigger guard at about 6'5", is their leading scorer in the first half. As we watch the free throws here. By the way, back to the UConn Seton Hall game. We're not able to show that. We don't have permission to show that, but I can tell you what's going on. Seton Hall closed within 1 in the final 30 seconds, and UConn just got fouled with Ari's man. He loves the name Solo Ball. Solomon Ball goes by Solo. Solo Ball is at the free throw line, up 1 with 30 seconds left. We'll keep you up to date on that. We saw
big guy from Turkey sinking both free throws.
That was going to be my next question. Geography lesson. Where is F.A. Demirel from? So Ari with the Turkey.
Turk. He's a Turk. Ari, say something. We've been talking all night about Bryce Drew. It's fascinating the job that he's done at Grand Canyon. This is their first year in the conference. They went in the NCAA tournament twice in the WAC. We see them, by the way, make another shot. That's Henley again. And we got a tie ball game. But Ari, say something about Bryce Drew here while we watch along.
Well, I mean, obviously, he comes from the Drew lineage. His father, Homer, obviously at Valpo. Everybody remembers that story and that shot that he made in the NCAA tournament. Played a couple of years in the NBA as well. So,
if I said to you NBA All-Star, if I said to you scored, I believe, 4,000 points in the NBA. Does anybody remember Bryce Drew having that kind of an NBA career? He was an all-star one time, and I think he scored like 4,000 points in his NBA career. I would have never figured that, but that happened.
I didn't realize he was an all-star in the NBA. I mean, I knew he was a pretty serviceable player, maybe 1 year, maybe as an alternate. I can't imagine him getting in off the votes, but a heck of a player, and he's done a great job at Grand Canyon. Obviously, they elevated their conference going from the WAC to the Mountain West. It's significantly more competitive, but they're right in there banging it. Look, this playing at the pit is obviously it's probably one of the, I guess from a mid-major standpoint, I would think it's probably one of the most difficult places to play on the road. So hanging in here early, first couple of minutes of the second half rather are always very important, obviously. especially in tight games.
True.
But Bryce
kid.
Drew,
Look at this kid, Jake Hall. I mean,
yeah, Jake Hall is red hot today.
We have watched this all night with the step back, fall away game, and the whole bit. And he's a freshman from Southern California that Eric Oren, the coach, brought with him to New Mexico. He is showing out in this game, real quick, guys. They're going to get it to him again.
Big guy. He's got some size, 6'4". Look, New Mexico obviously had attrition. They had
Donovan Dent
going to UCLA, and then True Washington is now in Miami. And True Washington, probably one of the best defensive players, but clearly, and obviously, we know where their coach went. But this Hall guy is clearly a nice fill-in and a nice competitive scorer and a big guard. True Washington was like 6'3", 6'4". This guy's 6'4".
I was going to say he's thick too. He's kind of that thickness, that mid-range kind of turnaround, kind of post-up guard that you don't see a lot of at the college level.
No.
By the way, while New Mexico shoots free throws here up by 3, we're doing this on the watch along of the Mountain West game tonight in New Mexico. Solo Ball did hit both free throws for Connecticut all the way in the other part of the country in Newark, New Jersey. UConn up 3, then blocked the 3-point attempt of Seton Hall, got the loose ball and got fouled. UConn up 3 with 11 seconds left, shooting more free throws. We'll keep you up to date on that. Meantime, in this game, Grand Canyon not going away. They take it to the basket, but can't get it to go down.
Blocked.
Down 3. Nice defense by the Lobos going to the other end. And again, we apologize that the video may be lagging a little bit, etc. This is new. This is on the fly. It's live. We get a look at a replay here of, I believe, the foul that just happened.
Is that Hall again, driving to the lane?
That may have been somebody other than Hall. But they're actually going to call a turnover on that. Hello, I don't have the audio up. They're going to call a turnover there and not a foul on Grand Canyon in a 45-40 game, if I have that right. So, again, go ahead.
I was going to say, all right, give us a sense of a couple of the teams in the East on the Eastern time zone. We got some West Coast listeners. Give me a couple teams out of the Big East that are strong. We know Connecticut. Talk about a couple teams on the East Coast that you like so far, about 2 weeks into January.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, obviously, we're talking, UConn is clearly in the Big East is the superior team.
And by the way, can I interject? I don't mean to interrupt, just to interrupt.
No
They've
problem.
won the game. They hit the free throws. They've won 12 in a row, UConn. They won the game 69-64. Go ahead, Ari.
I mean, St. John's came in with a tremendous amount of fanfare as well. They didn't really do particularly well in their, out of conference, but they're starting to line up wins in the Big East. So, I mean, I expect them to jump in as like in the 2 or 3 place. But again, Seton Hall is another team. I mean, they came into this game ranked. So I think Villanova is also much improved from a year ago. We're seeing them. They won tonight against Providence. They're 14-3 right now. So, looking at that Big East, a team that's been a disappointment is definitely Georgetown again. But someone posted to one of my friends on Facebook, DC, nice. One of my DC friends posted about Georgetown and what through this time, what Patrick Ewing's record was and what Ed Cooley's record was. Yeah. And Patrick Ewing actually at this point had 10 more wins than Ed Cooley does right now at Georgetown. So, they had some good stuff early on in the out of conference, looked competitive and then started getting drilled again. And, they're 1-4. So I'm not really particularly that I'm selling on Georgetown at this point. But yeah, UConn, Villanova, St. John's, and Seton Hall are really
so St. John's tonight has blasted Marquette 92-68 at the Garden.
They are. How bad has Marquette been?
Yeah,
Marquette's terrible this year.
They just dropped to 1-6 in the conference. So St. John's rolled in that one. Villanova, as you mentioned, beat Providence in a high-scoring game, 88-82.
What's the deal, Ari? Give me. What's the deal with Georgetown? We were talking about kind of UNLV out west here, how they've not been able to utilize NIL with Vegas and all that, how they should be one of the top 2 or 3 programs. How has Georgetown not been able to recover and kind of get back in the mix here in the Big East? Is it funding? Is it NIL?
At the Big East, it started to do the revenue share, so that shouldn't be an excuse because Seton Hall was having major problems like that. Georgetown has tremendous donor base. Remember, it also doesn't really have like a major football,
Right.
imprints. It's FCS and football. So you would think that the athletics would go more to the budget would go towards the basketball team. Look, they've got
This
some
is
guys on that
second.
team.
Let me interject. This is second year or third year for Cooley. This is third year,
This
right?
is third year for Cooley, right?
So
right.
this is a year where you should make some strides and you should be better.
Yeah.
Should you not, Ari?
It looked like they were better at the beginning of the year. Look, they've had some injuries along the way. Obviously, they had a tremendous freshman in Sorber last year. Now he's got drafted in the NBA, and then he ends up. I think he's out for the year. He was hurt in like preseason. That was a big loss. That guy was a stud. So they're going to have to figure it out. And look, I think Ed Cooley, to be honest with you, I think he's a fantastic coach. I just think that Georgetown at this point really is in a bad spot. It's just I don't know if it's being able to figure out the right type of student athlete, because you have to realize that Georgetown, they actually do have student athletes there.
Yes,
so
right.
and you can't really make it, especially multiple years there. You can't even get into that school. They won't let you in unless you got the grades, unless you're Victor Page and can somehow get through without being able to read. But that's a whole lot.
But I mean,
we
we're
do a
like
whole documentary on that. But
we're like 15 plus years removed from John Thompson III and what was it, Jeff Green and the guys
Jeff
that
Green,
got
Roy
the guys that got them to the Final
Wallace.
Four. Got them to the Final Four. We're like 17, 18 years removed from that, and they have not been relevant on any kind of a national stage. 15 years, fair to say?
No, well, yeah, more than that. Yeah, when they fired John Thompson III, and it has been absolute disaster since. I mean, like, it's one of those things where your success, like, you become a victim of your success. And look, he made that Final Four a few years in after Craig Esherick was there for like a year. Then they brought in John Thompson the third to do it, and then Big John was always there, and he had a huge figure. So they try to like kind of get away from the John Thompson. And of course, he passed away a few years ago. But I'll tell you, the John Thompson the third, they haven't been good since they got rid of him. Look, they may have been somewhat mediocre, but they were making the tournament most of the time. Maybe getting knocked out by the Ohios of the world and stuff like that in the first round. But they were making the tournament.
Commonwealth, right?
Yeah. But
Florida
they were
Gulf
making the tournament.
Coast.
So you gotta be careful what you wish for, because I'm sorry, like making the tournament like every year is kind of a bigger deal than actually advancing, because once you fire that coach that does that, and you bring in guys, and you're not even getting out the first round of the Big East tournament, anymore. So it's one of those things, you become a victim of your success. It happens across all sports. And look at Mike Tomlin with Pittsburgh. People were tired of him already, and he's never had a losing season. Of course, he stepped down today because, like, why shouldn't he step down? Tired of hearing all this nonsense. The guy is a Hall of Fame coach, and now he's moving on. So that's across all sports. You become a victim of your own success at times.
Got to keep it at a higher level.
And that's why sometimes these guys move along so fast, I think, because it's, first off, like these contracts are phenomenal for them. The buyouts are ridiculous. But,
perfect example. Let's bring it back to what we're watching here. We're back in the live action of New Mexico and Grand Canyon. Richard Pitino, obviously established this program as an NCAA tournament caliber program, and quickly hopped to the Big East for more money at Xavier. More money, better television contracts, probably better NIL, et cetera. So that's a perfect example here. And then we're speculating, is Bryce Drew going to do a similar thing and maybe hop to a big time Power 5 school after Grand Canyon, although he's been there for a while to this point. So
that's nice job there by Grand Canyon on the offensive rebound. Oh, wow. I thought they called a foul. They apparently did not call a foul there.
Maybe they called offensive foul and gave it to New Mexico, who leads by 8. Again, if you're just joining us and you're saying, what are these guys doing? You're seeing us on social media, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X. We're part of the Creator Sports Network of broadcast, and we are seeing the Mountain West Conference broadcast of New Mexico and Grand Canyon on a Tuesday night live. The Lobos at home in Albuquerque these are two of the top teams in this conference, just to reset this.
Yep.
And for New Mexico, they've won 3 games in a row. And this is Buljan, Tomislav Buljan, the big Croatian.
Where's he from, Ari? What country, Ari?
We gotta look him up. I believe he's a
former
Croatian.
Yugoslavia, man. I tell you what, like all the former Yugoslavians are flooding college basketball right now.
Oh, I think so. He gets
like
1
Illinois,
out of 2.
I feel like Illinois looks like the 1988
Eastern
Yugoslavian,
the Eastern European bloc
team.
back in the Olympics. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So again, we're monitoring this game. This is a watch along that we're doing tonight in the Mountain West. So we're gonna talk about this game obviously as things go along. You know who else? Let's make it a foursome. I mean, if we're playing golf, you got to have 4. Let's get to my man Tate's take. Deshaun Tate, based in Atlanta. We've been to Denver. We've gone to New York. Let's bring the ATL into things. Deshaun Tate is here with us as well on the watch along. Mr. Tate's Take Hoops. It's now an official program with you with us here on college basketball coast to coast and the Tuesday night live watch along. How are things, my friend?
Outstanding. With a 3-year-old, finally get a chance to get away just for a quick second. But you bringing Deshaun Tate on, and it looks like everybody wants the ratings to go down. So
I don't know about that.
I appreciate you guys, man, for having me on. And fun fact, that guy, Bojan, you were just talking about. I don't know if y'all seen him earlier in the year against Mississippi State. I think 19 points and 21 rebounds. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's a freshman, I think. So we hear a lot of talk about
in quotes, freshman.
Yeah,
we don't know.
Yeah, freshman. Yeah, that's a good point.
But they just called offensive foul against.
What do you like this call here? I mean, he got a little chicken wing elbow on the turn on Buljan, and they called offensive foul there.
That was like an ACC call, soft.
So, Deshaun Tate, as we bring you in, good to have you. I know you're smiling because Sparty got it done with Indiana this evening. So that's a good thing. He's a Michigan State guy. They've won at home against Indiana. We're talking some West Coast basketball here. This New Mexico team starting to look good in the second half. They get the hoop inside there to lead by 8. Chol on the hoop on the inside. Give me a thought or two here on the Mountain West, which right now I believe we're going to go to a timeout here on the game broadcast. So we'll come back full screen with the 4 of us with the quartet here on the program.
Nice little.
All right. So Deshaun, give me a thought here. We have all been discussing this situation with the Mountain West. Really only the one team, Utah State, that you would say has an at-large case. So if you're New Mexico, if you're Grand Canyon, if you're San Diego State, playing each other and playing Utah State, you're kind of vying to be maybe that second team, right, Deshaun?
Yeah, typically, you know what? I'm a little bit maybe just only slightly surprised. The Mountain West is, I mean, I get it. They are most certainly a high major program. At least I like to think so, especially college basketball. They've had some really good teams come through. Colorado State, obviously in the NCAA tournament on last year, winning a game or two. Grand Canyon, I think not too long ago, may have won a game. Certainly been pretty consistent on getting there. I don't know what Steve Alford's doing with Nevada, but I think that, Utah State is obviously really good. They're really good every year. We talk so much about Duke and their student section. You got to go check out Utah State's student section. Look that up on YouTube, and you'll have some fun with that. Obviously, San Diego State going to the national championship game not long ago. A very underrated conference. New Mexico obviously was too. This is a tough game, man. You're playing at the pit. A couple of teams that are on a winning streak. If you call 2 games, anyways, a winning streak for GCU. But I don't know, man. I mean, both of them got some really tough schedules ahead of them. A big time.
We mentioned this.
Tonight.
Let me tee you up for Grand Canyon. Big opportunity here at New Mexico. Quality road game, and then they get Utah State on Saturday at home. So Bryce Drew's team can get relevant in a hurry if they find a way to come back tonight, or if they win on Saturday. Deshaun, follow up.
Yeah, well, they've got big time games over the course of the next, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 games. San Diego State is going to be following right behind that. They're second in the league. Outside of that little break that they could potentially get with Fresno, I mean, you got to go to Nevada, and then Boise, who a little bit surprisingly they ended up beating one of the teams that beat New Mexico, so they'll be wanting some revenge as well. So listen, Grand Canyon, I mean, I'm not surprised that they're right here within this game. Of course, Bojan, I don't even think that he's even scored a point in this game yet, but I definitely think that, Grand Canyon is a team that's going to compete, if not nothing else, within this league. New Mexico is just really hard to play at home. They're 9-0 at home at the Pit. Anybody will tell you that's a really tough place to play.
And here's what I would say, guys. I know these games at the top end of the conference are important, but man, you cannot afford to lose to the bottom three in this conference. Those are just killers when it comes to the quad 3 and quad 4 losses. So I know we think the Fresnos and the San Jose States, we know they're not very good, but there's as much pressure. You have to win those games and win them convincingly.
No bad losses, right, Deshaun? Right, Ari? Correct? You can't take bad losses in the conference.
Well, you got to also look at this league, and there's places to play that are super trap games. One place that you got to look out for is Wyoming. Wyoming for years has been a trap for all the top teams in the conference. They're, they've had some good years where they've been at the top of the conference, but they've always been kind of a spoiler type in the middle of the field here, in the middle of the conference standings every year, and they're just really good at home too. Colorado State is another tough place to play, and as Deshaun mentioned, Utah State, their fan section is wild and crazy. So look, this is a place where if you can get a road win in this conference, I mean, it's a brutal take across the board. Boise is another tough place to play on the road. But you're right. Yeah, you can't afford to lose home or away against Fresno, San Jose, and Air Force.
Right, the bottom of the bottom.
Those are bad teams, or teams that are just not at the level of this is a very competitive conference every single year. Knock them, drag them out, and that's why they do very well in the NCAA tournament generally, because they're battle tested. Day in and game out.
We saw San Diego State make a Final Four a couple of years ago to that point. Colorado State beat my Memphis Tigers last year after winning the conference tournament. Out of this league. Again, New Mexico at the foul line here, and they get 1 out of 2.
Danger time these next couple of minutes. The margin's 10 now. If you're Grand Canyon, you got to keep this within striking distance. You can't get down 13-14 at the 10-minute mark. You got to make a little move here.
Henley leads Grand Canyon with 14. Jake Hull with 14. The freshman that we keep talking about leads New Mexico. And there they got the much-needed 3-ball. How about that? And that's Henley again, 17 in the game. Yep. Right on cue. We might know what we're talking about some of the time on college basketball coast to coast. Deshaun Tate, give me a thought here on Eric Olin, the coach.
Zone defense, by the way. Zone defense.
Yeah, Bryce drew zone, and they knifed right through it and got the layup, the driving layup. Give me something on the UC San Diego coach, 12 years there from the Big West, now the New Mexico coach. Again, he's got a couple of international players. We see the big 7-footer in the middle. Rock is the transfer that's trying to get that rebound on the inside, and they called the over-the-back foul there on Grand Canyon. But say something about Eric Oren, the coach at New Mexico in his first year in a great home environment, tradition-rich program. Richard Pitino had him in the NCAA tournament. Steve Alford before that had him in the NCAA tournament. Say something about New Mexico, Deshaun Tate.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're looking for that next step up, that next jump, for a very well-known team, maybe not to a lot of people on the East Coast, but you keep up with a little bit of college basketball, you know that New Mexico can be dangerous. And those are you just mentioned some names prior to him. Very tough shoes to fill. Also losing out on a guy that just transferred out to UCLA. That probably doesn't help the case very much either. But, I do think with the success that he's had over there at UC San Diego, I mean, you go back and look at some of their records that they've had over the last handful of years or so, you can see why he got this job here at New Mexico and why most people have a good feeling as to why he's going to be so successful. I think that it's a perfect fit, to be kind of like a plug and play, to be put right in there. I'm already kind of familiar with the way that the conference is run, already kind of familiar with, just New Mexico in general. I think it's a fantastic hire. It's going to take a little bit of time, but clearly doesn't look like it's going to take too much time. I mean, obviously they got a fairly significant lead on right now. Just got to kind of focus in and lock in, laser focus in on, not losing that lead. But so far, so good for a first-year coach at a new program.
And Deshaun, I know you keep up with the recruiting circle. Albuquerque ain't the easiest place to recruit to. There ain't a lot of 4 and 5 stars coming out of New Mexico year in, year out. So you're pretty much having to go to Arizona, California,
That's a good point, but I'll tell you what, New Mexico is a good spot for, to be able to get some transfers in as well. Like, I think they're one of the better programs around the country in terms of those of which, maybe not necessarily hotbed or whatever, but just underrated and underappreciated. I think at one point in time, was it J.R. Giddens, a transfer from Kansas, and
only game in
other
town.
guys. Who was the other guy that was currently in the NBA that was also, I think, a transfer from Kansas, was recently over there at the with the New York Knicks. Is it Grimes? I think it was. I think Grimes was over there. Quentin Grimes was over there for a little while too, I think.
Oh, New Mexico before he went to Houston. Yeah.
Correct. So I mean, just it's definitely a landing spot where I think that you can still be somewhat relevant to a good portion of the college basketball.
All right, to that point, Rock, the guy that's at the foul line, is a transfer. Makes 1 out of 2 at the foul line. Chol is the other big man, CHOL, number 5. He's a transfer from Rutgers, Ari, in your part of the world. So again, they've brought a couple of players in. They've got the freshman, Jake Hall, who we keep talking about a 6'4" guard. And we're waiting and seeing, what do we got? We got Bryce Drew, I think, with a technical foul. Boy, they have teed Bryce Drew up here. Did he get thrown out of the game just then? He might have gotten thrown out of the game. That might be the deuce. Bryce Drew,
he's walking off.
Yeah, he is
out of there.
He is upset about a non-foul call, and I think he got a double technical right there with 10:50 to go. Are you kidding me? Your team is still in the game with 11 minutes left. What happened here? Let's watch on the left side of the screen. Drew is out on the court at that point where the video picks up here on the Mountain West Television Network. He was upset about a no foul call on the offensive end, and I think he's gesturing there at the official about blow your whistle. And what a monumental moment here where the coach is thrown out, guys, with 11 minutes left in the game on a double technical. And the Lobos are going to get 4 free throws in the ball, I believe.
Besides the fact that I hope that was a gesture of blow your whistle, TJ, I will say this much. This will be really interesting to find out exactly what Grand Canyon is made of to a degree. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Is because sometimes in such situations, even though I don't believe that Grand Canyon is going to win this game, I think this one has got that happening is kind of like the cherry on top. Sometimes there's instances, as we've all watched enough basketball to know, sometimes that ignites the team,
right?
To be able to, now playing with a little bit of extra emotion, kind of doing it for the coach and what have you. I don't think that that's going to happen here today, but there's enough instances and there's still enough time. I mean, granted, you look at the 49, you look at the 62, you probably figure they're not going to do it, but there's a ton of basketball left to be played with 10:51.
And from an officiating perspective, that he must have said some very choice words to get zapped that quick twice. Sure. Usually they'll nail him for that first technical if you say something out of line. But for him to get 2 in a row like that, basically immediately,
it obviously got personal and went up about 5 notches in a hurry.
Yes.
So Bryce Drew, again, as we watch this along, thrown out of the game. I just did a quick search about whether or not he's ever been ejected in a Grand Canyon game before. I can't say that I ever remember watching highlights of that happening. There it is again. He's on the floor after getting the technical foul and got the second tee. And he is as calm. I've dealt with him a couple of times. I know this is an intense situation in a game, but he's a calm, soft-spoken guy. Whatever he did and whatever he said, the vernacular in the officiating world is he got the deuce and the heave-ho at the pit in Albuquerque. Goodbye. So the Lobos got 3 free throws and the ball, and I believe they have also made the hoop as well. So now it's a 15-point game with 10 minutes to go. I believe that's a 5-point possession for New Mexico to make this to 64-49. Ari Russell, weigh in. Did Bryce Drew just lose his head there, or was he using it to try to inspire his team and wake them up?
It probably a little bit of both. Sometimes, as Deshaun was saying, coaches will jump on the grenade to kind of seeing like the team isn't really playing physical enough and try to like show at least to be like, all right, he actually has our backs too, because he got thrown out for
Mm-hmm.
a call that or a no call or whatever it was. I mean, obviously he's getting frustrated because they've had multiple possessions. Grand Canyon has where they are, called for offensive fouls and there's contact. It could probably go either way, or at least that could be the interpretation of it. And then there's, obviously a no call, a no whistle down the line, and I think he's just getting frustrated. But hey, Grand Canyon hits a three right
They hit
there.
a three right there as we watch
That was
this
a
live.
very much needed possession right there for them to get three. But it's one of those situations where you can understand that the frustration, you're just not getting any of the calls. And then when there is contact, at least you believe so, and you're not getting that call either. It could be very frustrating for coaches, especially if it's not consistent on the other side. You got to keep your cool, though. You got to keep your cool because, again, New Mexico has taken over this game, has dominated in the paint, and has been really taking advantage of the weakness in that zone defense of Grand Canyon today.
They just hit another three themselves to lead by 15. Now we're trying to trade threes as well, but there's another miss by Grand Canyon. This is Deshaun on the verge of getting completely away from Grand Canyon here at this stage with the lead 15.
Yeah, they're just not able to get. I'm sorry, Deshaun. Go ahead. I was just saying on the they're just getting through that zone very easily. I mean, they're getting to the hoop, and at least that they're not making the shots, they're kicking it out or they're drawing the foul. So New Mexico is really taking over this game. Go ahead, Deshaun.
It's all good. I was gonna say, I don't think it's the worst decision in the world from coach in terms of when get a little bit rowdy, try and light a fire up under his guys. I think that decision to do such things and they end up getting ejected from the game is probably a little bit of something more that a little bit more worthy of probably happening if it's a home game. But you're in a situation like this. I mean, I get it. There's going to be some frustrations. We talk about raucous crowds and ones that can really get up under your skin. That is the pit. It's been known that way for years. Unless you've been living under a rock, you would know that much about New Mexico. But fine basketball club, and I mean Grand Canyon. It's a rough one for them on tonight. Only 52 points so far, but I think that ultimately, just like anything else in any other sport, it's going to have to start with some stops. And New Mexico just looks like they've got the foot on the gas.
So they're having a review. Hang on, they're having a review. I think for a flagrant one situation. With it may have been the player driving to the basket with the off arm for New Mexico. Again, they lead by 15. Do the Lobos at home under 9 minutes to play. Again, if you're just joining us, Bryce Drew thrown out of the game as the coach. I'm looking at the assistants out of Casey Shaw. Anybody got any guesses? Mark Rogers, Matt Lodich, or Cam Morrell? Who do we think is the interim coach right now for Grand Canyon that didn't know they were going to have the clipboard and move 2 feet over into the big chair?
I wonder if Cam Morrell is related to Stu Morrell, the former Utah State coach, maybe his son.
I don't know. But that's the 4 main assistants for Bryce Drew. So one of them is the interim coach. Free throws here for New Mexico out of the official review. So they must have just called it a common foul, not a flagrant one, which would have been free throws and the ball. But the lead now 17. And this is critical that Grand Canyon gets a hoop, a stop, and tries to get back in the game, or this is probably curtains. You never say never, but this is big right here at this stage. Is it not, guys?
I agree.
And Grand Canyon gets a little fall away jumper. Can't get that to go.
Yeah.
And that's out of bounds off of the Lobos.
Yep.
So, again, a 17-point lead, a game that began 10-2, a game that Grand Canyon climbed back in late in the first half. They were down by a couple. Lobos hit a 30-foot three at the end of the first half, and they've stretched it out. There's the interim coach. I don't know which assistant that is, but that's the interim coach for Bryce Drew at the moment. He got run. That's what they call it in baseball when you get thrown out and you get ejected. He got run. He got run with 10 and a half minutes to go in the game on a double technical foul, the Grand Canyon coach. Anybody else with an observation here at the moment out of Ari, Deshaun, or Jason?
Grand Canyon is really struggling off the dribble against New Mexico on the off when New Mexico has the ball. Nice follow-up there, much needed, but they've struggled this second half, I think, keeping New Mexico in front of them. I think you've seen some blow-bys and causing some of the issues as far as penetration. You see that again here.
New Mexico with Jake Hall, the freshman guard at 6'4", excellent ball handler, creator, can shoot it. Only a freshman, and there's another bucket and an and one situation, it looks like, for New Mexico. Look at this ball movement. I think they're going to the TV timeout here. Go ahead, Ari.
They Grand Canyon moved to a man-to-man, and that ain't working either. So they're defensively, they just don't have an answer at this point, dealing with that rotation and the outside shooting and inside presence of New Mexico is just, putting on a clinic at this point offensively. Grand Canyon just doesn't seem to have any answers to get any stops. Look, they're also not, and New Mexico is playing really good interior defense as well. And on the perimeter. So I'm impressed so far with what I'm seeing from New Mexico tonight on both ends of the court.
Stats to this point: New Mexico 56% from the floor. Hello, 7 of 14 beyond the arc. Grand Canyon has dipped to 35%. From the floor, 7 of 21 behind the arc. The rebounding edge is now only 28-25. It was about a 7 or 8 board edge earlier. Not a lot of turnovers, 8 each from each team, but New Mexico has done a better job of shooting it, obviously, right now, and they maintain the 15-point lead. Critical out of this timeout. When we come back with under 8 minutes to go in a 15-point game, if Grand Canyon is getting back in the game, it's got to be during this segment right now. The next 2-3 minutes of the game, hoop, stop, hoop, and then maybe you're back in it. Right, guys? Any thoughts?
Absolutely. That's what you need to do. And but again, you put, 36 from the field. You're not going to win many games shooting below 40% in general.
On the road in this kind of conference, you're in trouble.
Especially if you can't get any stops. Like you could grind it out. We've seen like Keldon Sampson teams be able to do that, and actually St. John's was kind of like that last year with the rock fights where they could shoot 30 some odd percent from the field and still win because they shut you down to 32% from the field.
And
we're not seeing that from Grand Canyon.
And your coach already has a plate from the post-game spread, eating the post-game spread because he's sitting in the locker room.
Oh, exactly, right.
Bryce Drew's already having the Chick-fil-A or whatever they have after the game.
It might not even be ready yet. You might have to wait a little bit before they
in Albuquerque. By the way, leading scorers, Jake Hall with 20 to lead New Mexico. Henley's been quiet. Jason, Ari, and Deshaun, and maybe some of the audience joined us late. Henley had most of his points in the first half. He's got 17 in the game, but I think 14 of that at least was in the first half of the game. They got to get something out of him at this stage as New Mexico makes the free throws coming out of the locker room coming out of the timeout, to lead by 17. Grand Canyon's got to go right now and get a hoop and get a stop. There's the hoop. There's the three-pointer. Now you got to get a stop and try to somehow claw within like 9 with 4 minutes left to have hope. Right?
And that's what I was gonna say, TJ. It's really got to be all about getting stops. Nothing will make a difference.
And yet it's an and one for Buljan underneath. We'll watch the replay. Deshaun, pick it up. This is Grand Canyon had to have a stop. They didn't get it.
Well, I was going to say it's about time because I think he's got like 3 points on the night, and he's one of the top leading scorers for this team. But it's really a recipe for disaster, especially for Grand Canyon. You don't have your coach. The other team shooting 50% plus from the field, also from 3. I mean, factor in the fact that, New Mexico's not shooting the ball well from the free throw line either.
Nope.
I don't think that really helps. And New Mexico is really just killing them with the points in the paint as well. I really do believe that, for Grand Canyon to have, one of their guys just get into double figures here on that last play, I think ultimately what it'll come down to is they just got to find a way to be able to get some stops. There's still a good bit of basketball left here, but
it's running out.
I don't think
it's running out, my friend. There's 7 minutes left. They're down by 17. New Mexico's just been the better team in the second half. And guess who? Guess who's drawing the contact with the head fake? That is Jake Hall, freshman from Southern California. You think he might be getting some NIL offers, not just from New Mexico, but elsewhere with the way that he has played so far this season? He's their leading scorer. Mm-hmm. He's been good again tonight with a 20-point game. Got a body.
In the paint. Got in the paint with ease. He was in the paint like that. It's just you're not going to win many games. With that type of defense. Just period.
They are getting to the line. They are deep into the bonus, so they're going to the line every ticky-tack foul you call. They're going to the line for 2 here the rest of the way.
And Jake Hall makes both free throws, and you don't want to say it's absolutely over, but it's close to being over now at 75-56 with 7 minutes left. Grand Canyon's offense has faded while on the road. Their coach kicked out of the game. There's a three-point heave that misses, and now New Mexico can begin to work on the shot clock a little bit, et cetera, up as big as they are if they want.
They are not. They're going
They're
right
not
to
going
the
to. There's the putback.
Wujan.
And we're almost now into garbage time. We're almost now into blowout time. Are we not here in this one?
Oh yeah.
We definitely are. And that's what I was going to say too. You're talking about a something's got to give game. New Mexico actually is undefeated at 20-0, dating all the way back to last season, where Grand Canyon is actually undefeated in Mountain West play on the road. So both of these teams having a little bit of something to kind of play for tonight.
Again, for New Mexico, this is going to be a 4th straight win. We won't say it's over, but it's close to being over. So this is going to be a 4th straight win for New Mexico as they lead by 21 here late, unless there is just something miraculous for Grand Canyon to get them back in the game. Interesting, as you saw, they fell behind 10. You see it on the screen there. They fell behind 10-2. They've never led in the game, Grand Canyon. They got back in the game, got within 2 late in the first half. But it has been all New Mexico in this second half, and they're going back to the line again, unless they're simply calling that out of bounds on the drive to the basket. By the way, elsewhere in the Mountain West tonight, while we're on this subject and covering this, they're underway. Actually, they're late in the game with Fresno State leading Colorado State. That's one of the bottom teams in the conference, winning at home. Welcome to conference play. Fresno State 67, Colorado State 60 with 2 minutes left.
Yep.
San Jose State and Air Force are at the bottom of the conference. San Jose State winning 27-21. They're about to get started with UNLV and Boise State in Las Vegas at the top of the hour, 8 Pacific time. Jason was bemoaning, where have you gone, my Jerry Tarkanian running Rebels? UNLV hasn't really been relevant for the most part for about the last 10 years, maybe 15 years or so. Josh Pastor now the coach. Deshaun, a thought on UNLV? Should they not be a little better under Josh Pastor than the 8-6 record? I know he's had some injuries.
Yeah, and on top of that, I was going to say that he's had some injuries, but I mean, it's going to take at least a little bit of time. I think, you could, I don't know, maybe you could say the same thing for Steve Alford in some cases. I think in the conference as well. Thought he might be a little bit better considering the Final Fours and everything else that he's been to and been able to achieve. But for somebody like Josh Pastor, I think it's going to take a little bit more time. He's definitely animated enough to get some of the guys after so much time to kind of buy
they've got a lot to sell with the NIL stuff and Las Vegas and whatever. By the way, Nevada at Utah State tomorrow night, 8 Mountain Time at Logan, Utah. Stay tuned for that. And then this Grand Canyon team will go play Utah State at home.
Yeah.
In a bounce back situation. I would love to know. I don't know if it's the first time ever. I'd love to know, is this the first time Bryce Drew's ever been ejected from a game? We'll find out post-game. I'll try to do another search while we're talking. But we're clearly in garbage time now with the Lobos with the ball up 79-56 as we watch this on the watch-along. Go ahead, Jason.
This game was tied 40-40 early second half. It is a 39-16 run.
Make it with
41-16
41-16. And what was it? It was about a 13-point game when Bryce Drew got thrown out with about 10 and a half minutes to go. And I would love to know if that is his first ejection, if you ever got one at Valparaiso or Vanderbilt before Grand Canyon. His team has just wilted. And again, this is a team that went and won at Boise State about a week ago by double figures. Not an easy place to play, but they have not done anything in the second half to stay in this game tonight. Ari Russell, anything else here about this game as we wind it down this evening? Anything else here?
Well, I mean, Bryce Drew has got his work cut out for him. Look, sometimes your team, has a rough game, but just look and again, one game, it doesn't make an entire season. Obviously, there's a lot more basketball to be played, but if Grand Canyon wants to compete at the top of this conference, their defense is going to have to significantly improve
off the dribble.
They are just off the dribble. They exactly, and they tried zone and they tried man. It just doesn't seem like they know how to position themselves at this point. Again, like that, these things can be fixed. They generally so, depending on the makeup of your team and the coachability of the team. Like, how coachable are they?
I have a preliminary answer. I just found it. Isn't Google a wonderful thing with AI and whatever? Bryce Drew was thrown out of a Grand Canyon game against Cal Baptist in the WAC a year ago. This is not even his first ejection at Grand Canyon. So he has been ejected before and ejected tonight. And again, better luck on Saturday with Utah State. So they're going to a timeout here. The final media timeout is upcoming for this one as we do it live on college basketball coast to coast. A little more on the top 25 action tonight as they go to the timeout here. We will come back on the full screen. Again, we saw UConn blow a significant lead. It got all the way down to 1, but they hung on and won with the free throws. So that is 12 straight wins for UConn. Kansas is bouncing back, and they've been wiping out Iowa State while we've been doing this show at Fog Allen. Kansas off the loss to West Virginia, also a loss to UCF recently. They've bounced back tonight against number 2 Iowa State. They're going to hand them their first loss. It's an 18-point game with 3 minutes left in the game. Deshaun Tate, any thought on the Big 12, by the way, where Arizona resides, where BYU and Debonsa resides, Iowa State, Kansas, Houston, shall I go on? Any thoughts, Deshaun Tate, on that conference real quick?
Yeah, I mean, those are all teams that are just clearly going to beat up on each other. You just seen, big upset with West Virginia taking care of business against Kansas. Now you see Houston, who I still have my own personal front runner still to win the national championship. Although I know a lot of people are talking about how much different they look this year than they do last year because some of the pieces that they've missed. But taking care of business against West Virginia tonight, and albeit they probably should, but it's just a gauntlet. You're going to have some games where, Baylor's going to take care of business against some teams you probably wouldn't. It's going to have moments like tonight where they look like the Kansas that we're typically have been used to historically. Then they're going to have some games where they don't. I think so much is going to rely on Darren Peterson and his health status personally.
Wow.
I'll tell you the one
I just saw the Houston score 77-48 on West Virginia tonight at home. They destroyed them. Go ahead.
You think that's something, TJ, and I know that this isn't Big 12. Now, listen, I know we've talked a lot about Vanderbilt and a couple other teams that have come out of nowhere and surprise. A top 10 team like Nebraska, I think most people probably figure that it's a good chance that they're going to beat Oregon tonight at home. Being up 88-49, up 40 on Oregon is not something that I would have anticipated.
Yes,
that I would
there's
be hearing.
2 minutes left in the game, and it's 88-49, and Nebraska is about to be 17-0.
You don't have to wait till March to get some madness, fellas.
The mayor is up. The mayor is up for re-election.
They are legit with the wins out of conference. By the way, our game is back on here on the live stream from Creator Sports Network and the Mountain West Television Network. We're doing the live watch along on college basketball coast to coast, where New Mexico, you guys love my phraseology, has dump trucked Grand Canyon in the second half of this game. Big win for the Lobos here tonight. What did you say, Jason Powers? 41-16 was the run after the game.
It was 40-40. It was 40-40.
And now they hit another. Wow, they hit another three-pointer late. So New Mexico has blown this wide open since the Bryce Drew ejection. While we watch the final moments of this game on our watch-along, so Nebraska has destroyed Oregon tonight in the Big Ten. By the way, Florida, in our part of the world, Jason, has gone to Norman, Oklahoma, and annihilated Oklahoma. They have been up by 30 most of the game. While we're doing this show, the score is now 86-66. They were up 30 earlier in the second half.
Coming off the blowout against Tennessee. They blew out Tennessee over the weekend.
Deshaun is smiling because his Spartans of Michigan State blasted Indiana. We got a lot of blowouts tonight, 81-60. In that one, Virginia beat Louisville in the ACC 79-70 tonight at Louisville. Ryan Odom's team is legit. Ari, you're kind of in that part of the world as well.
Yeah.
What about Virginia?
Yeah, Virginia. I mean, that was a great pickup getting Odom. I mean, they're going to be a perimeter-oriented team, and going to be running the ball a lot, and that's what they're doing, and they're effective. But impressive win at Louisville. But I have a hard time really recognizing Louisville without Miguel Brown Jr. out there on the court. He's been hurt.
Agreed.
He's the straw, that mixes things up right there, and he's such a phenomenal player, game changer. But still, even so, like they still have guys on the team too, but not nearly as good. But still, winning a road game in any conference is a tough one. So Virginia is impressive to me. They're going to be right there with and maybe give Duke some problems this year. I don't even know if they play Duke this year, though.
Virginia will play. I'm looking real quick. Virginia at SMU on the weekend. Virginia will then play North Carolina at home the following weekend. So they get a full week off after the SMU game. And Virginia does play Duke late in the year at Cameron at the end of February.
How about Virginia tonight? Started that game 14-0 run to start the game at Louisville. 14-0.
Wow.
Boy, well, we saw SMU get up on 11-0 on the Dukies the other day, and that was without Boopy Miller. So SMU is another team to look out for in the ACC.
Andy Enfield, former
correct.
Florida Gulf Coast USC coach.
Yep.
All right, so we gave you some top 25. Anything else in closing here as our Mountain West game that we're doing the watch along now has 2:23 remaining, and New Mexico has wiped out Grand Canyon this evening to improve now to 5-1 in conference play in this one. Any other thoughts, Ari, Deshaun, anything else? Deshaun, you got anything else here this evening?
I think the last thing that I'll go with is I think, when we finally do get to a point where we'll see this game replayed, I think that they meet up with New Mexico again later on in the year. I don't think it'll quite look like that. Actually, you know what? On the 11th of February, I don't think it'll necessarily look like this. Obviously, you'll have Bryce Drew still there on the sideline, I would imagine, but Breedenbach, excuse me, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, probably butchering it. Right there, number 32, the big man with the goggles. He's been around quite a bit. He was right there with the mayor over there in Nebraska, I believe, at the very beginning. He's transferred a little bit around. I think Washington is where he was at one point in time, but he's experienced big. I think things are going to look a little bit different. And this is their first time in this conference. Am I correct?
Correct. Yep. First year in the Mountain West.
Yeah, you're going to go through some bumps and bruises. This is just one example of them. Yeah.
And doesn't this just put more pressure on this Grand Canyon team on the weekend with Utah State coming to town in a game they almost have to win for their NCAA tournament hopes?
Oh, yeah. If you're an at-large case, again, we shared this earlier, they are 100 in the net ranking right now. So that Utah game, because Utah is 13 in the net ranking now, that Utah game would represent about a 15-spot jump, like into the mid-80s at least. Listen to me sounding like I know the formula for the net on a Tuesday night late. I might be a little punchy, but that should move them up about 15 spots if they could win it. But they're gonna have to play a lot better than what we've seen in this second half tonight to have any hope against a good Utah State team even at home. Stay tuned.
I would hope that this league, because it is so competitive, gets more than one team in. But this year might be a tough one.
You would think between, to your
Utah
point,
State,
between New Mexico and San Diego State,
I think
along
that they're
with Utah
get,
State, that could be your second team.
They should get. I mean, it is also like, I know they say they don't do this, but there is a historical kind of aspect to it, and I know like they claim that's not part of it, but it's definitely built into some level of a bias on what they do when they say like the eye test. And I think at this point, the Mountain West, like it has to receive its flowers considering the success that they've had in the NCAA tournament on the national stage. And the competitiveness just of the nature of the program, especially at the top of the conference. And they're adding Grand Canyon. Look, Grand Canyon was pretty dominant in the WAC and pretty much a pretty new program recently, just in general, stepping up. I mean, how long have they been at Division I?
Not long.
It hasn't been that long.
And
they jumped up to this conference, and they're competitive. Look, they're competitive, not tonight, but they're going to be a competitive team in this very tough conference. Jumping up.
We haven't really shared this. Call. This is also the last go around for San Diego State, Utah State, Colorado State. Several of those schools are breaking away and going to the new reconstituted Pac-12 after this year. Grand Canyon goes ahead and slides in now, and a couple of other programs are going to slide in starting next year. So it's going to be a new makeup in the Mountain West. By the way, for New Mexico off this win, a statement win for them tonight at home. They'll play at San Diego State this weekend. That is Saturday night.
Yeah.
That is 5 Pacific time at the Viejas Center in San Diego, and that becomes a large game for the Aztecs, who right now are about 65 in the net. This New Mexico team is in the 40s right now in the net.
Yeah.
So that's a big game for San Diego State as well in conference play. Again, Eric Oren has closed things out here, has put a couple of reserves in the game as they have a 20-point lead with 1 minute to go.
And Eric Oren will be motivated going back to San Diego, where they probably didn't place UC San Diego very much, thinking they were the little brother in town.
That's right.
I don't know if they played each other year in, year out.
Not that often. Correct. Good
he'll
point.
be motivated to go to San Diego State Saturday night.
All right, so this game is now winding down. Not much drama. We'll go around the room one more time. Any final thought? It was fun to do this here tonight. Jason Powers, a final thought on watching this and doing this evening?
Impressive performance by the Lobos. Again, we talked about the tough place to play and one of the underrated venues, especially out west, but even in the country as far as a home court advantage. So good job there to get it done for the Lobos. And again, we saw a little history tonight with Bryce Drew getting run. Be curious to see what he says post game about what comes out, because to get run instantaneously with 2 technicals, that means he used some very colorful language.
We shared this earlier that for New Mexico, this victory will now represent, I'm going to double check, 2, 4, 6. Double check again, 2, 4, 6, 7. This is now going to be 11 wins in 12 games. They have found their footing with Jake Hall, with Alberry, and again, a couple of the bigs, Buljan and also Rock. So this is the size underneath. This is a fascinating New Mexico team to keep an eye on out west. No East Coast bias here tonight. Deshaun Tate, give me a final thought. They're in the final 30 seconds here of this game. Final thoughts tonight? Anything else?
Sounds good. Final 30 seconds. You guys wouldn't know anything about this, but this is usually when they check me into the game. Appreciate you guys, man, for having me. This is a ton of fun, man. I can't wait to do it again. I think probably the most impressive thing about New Mexico going on now to be 21-0 at the pit now at this point. Last 21 consecutive. Outside of that, doing so without Bujan having a fantastic game. They've been relying on him quite a bit this year. Can't wait to do this with you guys again. Hope it's sooner than later.
All right, they're clearing the bench, the Lobos, and they're shaking the hands. The game is done, 87-64. Ari Russell, final thought. I appreciate you hanging out.
Yeah, look, man, I'm excited to follow along with Mountain West this year. Like I said, I love this conference, great competition, and anytime you get to, we get to nationally broadcast these types of games that people on the East Coast can get a little bit more familiar with them, because you might see them in the NCAA tournament, and believe me, you're going to want to pay attention to that. Pay attention to these teams. New Mexico, like I said, historically has always been good, and tonight, new coaching regime, but and a completely different makeup from how the team was under Richard Pitino last year. They're much bigger, I feel, this year than they were last year. So it's an interesting dynamic, but they're rolling along. Pretty impressive win tonight. And Grand Canyon, it's got to work, especially on the defensive end, if they want to, stack up some more wins and be more competitive in this conference. Tonight just wasn't their night.
They're ending the broadcast on the Mountain West Network. We'll come back on full screen. Again, an impressive night for the New Mexico Lobos as they get the blowout win. They'll play San Diego State on the weekend. Great performance by Jake Hall, that freshman. Keep an eye on that name. And you brought up the point, Ari, about this conference. Colorado State a year ago. We talked about this earlier in the night, did we not, Jason Powers? Colorado State was not in the NCAA tournament a year ago. They put together 3 wins in 3 nights on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, went into the NCAA tournament, and then beat my Memphis Tigers in the 12-5 game. This conference is legit at going into the NCAA tournament and pulling off wins. So pay attention to the Mountain West. Hall had 22 in the game tonight for New Mexico to lead them. Boys, I think that's going to do it for this edition of College Basketball Coast to Coast. I appreciate Matt Zimick joining us earlier in the program, Jason Powers throughout the night, Ari Russell, and Deshaun Tate. We will come back and do a Mountain West watch along again through Creator Sports Network. We say thank you to them. That's how we were provided the live feed that you saw this evening of New Mexico wiping out Grand Canyon in Mountain West play.
And Boys, I know Coach Ari is going to run a play for Deshaun Tate at the end of the game at garbage time. We're going to run a double screen coming off the double pick for shoot the three.
From the logo, baby, from the logo.
I'm afraid I would probably tear my Achilles on the inbounds pass.
Would not be good.
So you're calling the play for Deshaun.
Exactly.
Man, you're calling.
Okay.
And he'd still find a way to tear his Achilles.
No, I will. Yeah, I'll just tell my Achilles getting up from the bench.
Diagram it up. All right, fellas, great stuff. You see their Twitter handles on the screen, Twitter X, at Ari Russell, at Tate's Take Hoops, at JPO Sports. I'm merely TJ Rives. Follow us at CBB Coast to Coast as well, here from College Basketball Coast to Coast, including our Saturday Night Live recaps, which we're going to have ongoing all the way through March, all the way to the Final Four in Indianapolis in the Circle City later on in the year. Boys, have a great night. And for the audience, thank you for being with us as we watch New Mexico dominate Grand Canyon tonight in Mountain West play. You've been with us here on College Basketball Coast to Coast live on a Tuesday night. For Ari, Deshaun, and Jason, I'm TJ. Good night.